Before you watch this video, there is a poll up right now in my community tab asking you to vote on which YA dystopian series I'm going to read in a video later this month. So please go vote on that and kind of help determine what content you are going to see from me. Hello, welcome or welcome back. My name is Ari and today, TBR game time. Every month I play a TBR game where I take this giant D20 and I use it to determine what I'm going to read for the month. To start, let's talk about what was on last month's TBR and if I actually read it or not. Spoiler alert, Baldur's Gate 3 came out and I spent 2 weeks being totally addicted to that game and did not read a word. I played like 150 something hours before beating the game, and yeah, I didn't read anything in that time because all of my focus was on Baldur's Gate 3. So in the rest of the month, did I manage to finish my Dungeons and Books TBR? Let's find out. First book last month was a backlist title. For that, I chose Moon of the Crested Snow, and I did read this. Prompt number 2 was hardback, and for that I chose The Last Human by Zach Jordan. I did not finish this, but I started it. This is going up on the 29th, so technically I have a few days, so I think I will be able to finish this before the end of the month. I just haven't finished it yet. Prompt number 3 was a foiled cover or sprayed edges. For that I chose Golden Sun by Pierce Brown. I didn't even start this. There's no way I'm getting to this month. So this is 100%. I completely failed to read this book. Next up, for a book with the word "the" in the title, I read Night of the Living Queers. This is a short story collection, so it's got a ton of authors, and I did finish this. And the final prompt was a friend pick. For that I read The Sacrifice by Ren Shipeko. This was fantastic. Did finish this as well. My audiobook for the month was Before We Were Trans. I don't have the author written down, and obviously it's an audiobook, so I don't have a physical book in front of me, but I did finish this series continuation, Lore Olympus Volume 4. I did finish this pretty early in the month, so yay. That means I finished or started everything but one book, which, considering I didn't read for half the month, is pretty good. I'm proud of myself for managing that much. Alright, it is time for the jars to start us out. Every month I pick a series continuation and an audiobook to read along with my rolls, just because I need to read more series and I've got a lot of backlogged audiobooks that I just don't prioritize because they're not physically in front of my face. So let's do this. We'll start with the Chris Gaines mug and pick an audiobook. Get something from the very bottom down here. And we're gonna read this book, which is The Ravaged. The Ravaged, up here, is a book by the actor Norman Reedus. This seems to be a contemporary novel with 3 different perspectives of people just exploring personal quest, is what it says on the description. It's an in-your-face novel with gritty realism. It doesn't have the greatest ratings, but it is what it is. Yeah. I don't know what to expect from this, but I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna listen to it. Next up, series continuation. What series am I continuing this month? There's some in here that I really want and some in here that I don't want, but I don't have much going on this month, so I could really read anything. If I pull out the Paxenarian series again, I'm going to scream. We have The Marionettes by Kate Wismere. This one is a brainchild of a YouTuber turned author, and it's like vampire romance for adults. So if you loved Twilight and stuff like that when you were a teen, This is a little bit more spicy, same thing, but for adults. So I read the first book. This is going to be the second out of 4 books, I believe. I don't remember the name of the book, I don't care. But it's up here for you, because I'm going to look it up later when I edit this video. But yeah, this is the series continuation I am going to be doing this month. Alright, now let's get into the roles. Role number 1, I got a book over 500 pages, and for that I am going to read a kind of arc. And I say kind of arc because this is a republished book. This is City of Bones by Martha Wells. Martha Wells is the author of the Murderbot Diaries, which I think is the books that most of us know her from, but before the Murderbot Diaries got popular, she did write a fantasy series, and this is the first book in one of those series that she wrote, and it's was originally published in I think the 90s, and it is now being republished and the republication comes out September 5th. This is an arc, but you don't necessarily have to wait for it to be republished. So here it is. Next prompt is gifted. So a book that was gifted to me. So I didn't have anything in particular that I really wanted to read for this. So I basically took all of the gifted books that I still have left on my TBR and took them to my boyfriend, who has gifted me most of them, not all of them, but most of them, and I just told him to pick one, and he chose The Last Ritual by S.A. Sidor. This is part of the Arkham Horror series, which is based off a board game, Cthulhu mythos set in the 1920s, and the city of Arkham is in like New England. It's like a fictional city in New England. I know a lot of times people hear Arkham and think Batman, but this is Cthulhu, not Batman. So last month we had a prompt where there was the word "the" in the title, and so this month we have a prompt without the word "the" in the title. For this one, I am going to read Starter Villain by John Scalzi. This is another arc that I have this month. I don't know what this is about. I've read one of John Scalzi's books and it was a 5-star. So I'm very excited to read this, and it also has a cat on the cover, which makes it even better. Next prompt is Captain chooses. So Captain is going to choose a book for us. I'm going to insert a video here in just a second, but let's talk about the 3 books that I'm gonna have him pick from and why I chose them. The first book I chose was Creatures of Want and Ruin. This is a book that I recently picked up at a library haul, and I don't really have a reason to read this. So if I don't put it on a TBR, I'm not gonna pick it up in any time soon. So It would be great if he picked this. I'm interested in it, but if he doesn't pick it, it's not something that I like need on my TBR this month. Next up, episode 13. This is a book that I've been seeing all over BookTube. It's horror, and I don't really know what it's about because I don't want to know what it's about, but I know everybody has been loving it. And it's one of those books that I'm really interested in reading, but again, I don't have an excuse to read. So if he picks it, I can read it this month. If not, then I can somehow find a way to fit this on a Halloween TBR because it is horror. This is Howard's Inn by E.M. Forster. You can barely see the name here, and then obviously it's got no cover on it. This is a classic. And this one is a book that I can put on a TBR that I have later this month, but I don't necessarily need to read it for that TBR, or I don't necessarily want to read this at this particular moment in time. So if he picks it, great, I can use it for that TBR, but if he doesn't pick it, then that just gives me an excuse to put something else I want to read more on that TBR. Hope that makes sense. These are our 3 options. Let's see which one Captain picks. You gonna help me pick a book? Come on, let's go upstairs. Wait, where are you going? Up the stairs. Let's go. Let's go. This way. Right, thank you. As you just saw, he picked episode 13, which this is the one I wanted to read most. So good job, Captain. Mr. Snorri Man down here. I'm very excited that I get to read this month. We got a double, so we're gonna have another roll after this. And this is least favorite genre, so a couple of the prompts on here are prompts that I don't want, or kind of mean prompts. And this is one of them. So there are a couple of options for least favorite genre. I obviously don't like every single genre. Typically I would put a romance on here, but I don't have a romance that I need to or even slightly want to read. So we're not gonna go with romance, and I'm gonna go with thriller, because I want to like thrillers, but I hate almost every single thriller that I've read. Most of my DNFs this year have been thrillers. So gonna go with a thriller, and I'm gonna go with Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. I know the plot twist in this. I accidentally got spoiled for me on the internet because this has been out for a while. So I want to know, knowing where this goes, if I'm still gonna enjoy it, or if you need to be surprised to enjoy a thriller. I mean, am I gonna like it at all anyway because I don't really like thrillers? Who knows? But I've read a couple of Riley Sager novels. I know I can get through a Riley Sager novel. Riley Sager only writes women, and he does a really shitty job of it. So, good things, bad things, where is this going to land on the spectrum? I guess we're gonna find out. the last roll, the worst prompt that I could possibly get all year is double Jar of Doom. If I roll a 1, I have to randomly pull a book from the Jar of Doom. This prompt is obviously a 13 and not a 1, but it means I have to pull 2 books from my Jar of Doom instead of the 1 book that I have to pull if I roll a 1. Jar of Doom is my physically owned TBR, but over a year old. So this gets updated once a year in January. I've gone through this and I've gotten rid of a lot of books that I have read. I'm not sure it's perfect, so I may have to like redraw something, but we will, this could be anything. This is actually probably the worst because most of these books are books that I have been putting off reading that I have no real interest in that are still on my physical TBR, because I've read a lot of books off my physical TBR this year. So this could go a lot of bad ways. Book number 1 is going to be An Ember in the Ashes. Alright, An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. This is fantasy. I don't really know a whole lot about it other than that it's fantasy with a strong female lead. I haven't picked this up yet because it is the start of a series and I'm trying to finish series, not start new series. But apparently I have no choice. I have no choice this month. And the second one is going to be this book, which is... Oh no! I don't want to read this! This is The Dwarves. The Dwarf by Mark Heitz. This I got for a video that I was going to do about dwarfs years ago and never read it. This is the longest book left on my physical TBR at 742 pages. Okay, so it's a chunky book kind of month apparently. But yeah. So this is what my TBR looks like. I got a couple of filler books for ebooks, and then I've got an audiobook in a series that I also don't have in this stack. Yikes! I'm apparently reading a lot of big fantasies this month, which is not where I would have chosen to go, but apparently that's where I'm going. Good luck to me. Thank you for joining me for this TBR. I will see you next week for all of the new releases and arcs that I read in August.